So you're thinking about getting some new chairs, right? Could be for your office, maybe your home, maybe a whole restaurant.
Hmm.
And pretty quickly, you hit that classic dilemma, leather or fabric. Seems simple, but get it wrong, and it can be a real headache.
Oh, absolutely. You're talking premature wear, unhappy guests, maybe warranty claims. It really matters.
Exactly. So that's what we're diving into today. We want to get past just the basic pros and cons.
Right. We've got some great insights from
Wow.
Sunbin Qi. He's the CEO at ASKT Furniture over in China. Calls himself the chief chair tester.
Ah, I like that.
Yeah, and he sees this stuff day in, day out, dealing with international clients, seeing what works, what doesn't, the real world impact.
Perfect. So the mission today is to give you a framework, something solid for making that leather versus fabric choice, drawing on all that experience. We're digging into the details people often miss.
Yeah, we'll cover like what these materials are actually made of, durability, the whole life cycle cost thing.
Okay.
Then comfort, climate considerations, super important. Maintenance, hygiene,
Oh yeah, the practical stuff.
definitely. And sustainability, especially for you listeners in the EU with compliance rules,
Mm.
design, branding,
Hmm.
and then we'll wrap it up with the total cost of ownership.
Great.
Right.
That's comprehensive. Let's kick off with Anatomy 101. Leather first. It's not just leather, is it? There are layers. Types.
Not at all. You've got that outer skin, the part you see and feel.
Yeah.
That could be full grain, which is the most natural, top grain, split leather, or even PU, faux leather.
Okay.
And underneath that, there's the base, the substrate, usually hide, maybe 1-2 millimeters thick,
Yeah.
gives it its structure, kind of the
Big
foundation.
fabrics. Similar complexity.
Oh, for sure. You've got your natural fibers, cotton, linen, great breathability. Then synthetics like polyester, super durable.
Right.
Blends, obviously, trying to get the best of both. And then these performance textiles,
Hmm.
engineered for specific things like stain resistant.
And they have a backing too.
Yep, usually a woven backing, bit thinner, maybe 0.8 to 1.2 millimeters. Gives it strength and shape.
Okay, now, durability testing. Seems quite different. Leather has tear strength. Fabric has this Martindale thing. What's that about?
Yeah, it's interesting how they measure different stresses. Tear strength for leather, maybe around 20, 25 newtons. That tells you how resistant it is to actually ripping.
Makes sense.
Fabric, though, it's all about the Martindale test. Basically, they rub a standard wool abrasive against the fabric over and over.
Uh-huh.
And they count the rubs until it shows noticeable wear. Like 25,000 rubs might be okay for home use,
Right.
but for commercial, you see numbers like 50,000, 70,000,
Yeah.
even over 100,000 rubs for really heavy-duty places.
Wow. So high Martindale fabric could actually be tougher than some leathers in certain ways.
Exactly. In terms of resisting surface wear, absolutely. That high rub count means it can take a lot of friction.
Got it. And breathability, that impacts comfort, I imagine.
Massively. Leather, unless you specifically get it perforated, with little holes, it doesn't let much air through. Low permeability. Fabric generally is much better. Medium to high breathability. Air circulates more easily.
And just quickly, the basic cost drivers. What makes one leather or fabric more expensive than another?
For leather, it's mainly the size and the quality, the grade of the hide itself,
Huh.
and then the finish they put on it.
Right.
With fabric, it's more about the yarn type, how complex the weave is, and any special coatings or treatments added for performance.
So the big takeaway here is you can't just say leather or fabric. The specifics are crucial.
Absolutely. Like Chi points out, you could have a split grain leather with a really heavy, almost plasticky finish.
Yeah.
Might look okay at first, but maybe not wear well or feel great.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, a really well-chosen polyester linen blend with a super high Martindale rating, that could be way more practical and durable in a busy cafe, for example. The details matter more than the label.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's move into durability and life cycle cost then. Leather has this reputation, right? Lasts for ages. True.
It can be true. High-quality leather, if you look after it, keep the humidity right,
Mm.
condition it regularly, yeah, testing suggests it can last well over 20 years.
Wow.
Key even has this club chair from like 2008. It's moved factories with him multiple times, and he says the leather's held up better than the frame.
That's impressive. But there have to be downsides, right? What are the caveats with leather durability?
Definitely. Scratches are a big one. They show up more easily. Big cat claws, belt buckles, keys.
Yeah.
Sunlight is another enemy. UV exposure can really damage it, potentially cutting the lifespan by like 30%.
Yeah.
ASKT actually tested this, simulating strong sun
Oh, interesting.
and repairs.
Yeah.
If it does get damaged, you really need a professional.
Mm-hmm.
A bad repair on leather stands out a mile.
Right. And the cost varies wildly depending on the type and how long it lasts before needing reupholstery.
Hugely. Full grain, top of the line, maybe €40, 60 per square meter raw material cost. In something like a hotel, it might go 12, 15 years before reupholstery, and it still has decent salvage value.
Okay.
Top grain, maybe 25, 35. Lasts perhaps 8, 10 years. Medium salvage value.
Then the cheaper stuff?
PU, the faux leather, much cheaper up front, 5, 12 maybe, but you're probably replacing it every 3, 5 years, and it's worth almost nothing at the end. That initial saving can be misleading.
Okay, turning to fabric, Qi said durability is like a dial.
You mean?
So adjusting it with that Martindale rating?
Exactly that. You pick the fabric toughness based on the environment. For a busy restaurant, he'd say minimum 50,000 rubs.
Right.
Hotel lobby, maybe 70,000 plus, something like a stadium lounge. You might need over 100,000. His own baseline for contract use is 25,000. It gives you a solid number to work with.
And these performance fabrics we hear about, what's the advantage there?
They're basically engineered for extra toughness.
Yeah.
Stain resistance is a big one, coffee, red wine, that sort of thing. Sometimes better abrasion resistance, maybe antimicrobial properties. They might use special coatings or advanced fibers like recycled PE yarns from bottles.
So worth the extra cost?
Often, yes. Might be 10, 15% more upfront than a standard fabric. But if they resist stains and wear better, they can potentially double how long the upholstery lasts. So, yeah, very cost-effective over time.
Are there potential weak spots with fabric durability, though?
Yeah, some types have issues. Looser weaves, especially natural ones like linen, can sometimes get those little bobbles.
Oh, yeah.
Dark cottons might fade near heat sources or in direct sun. And unlike leather, where a scratch is just a scratch, if a thread breaks in fabric, it can sometimes unravel if you don't catch it.
Okay, good to know. Let's shift to comfort and climate. She had that story.
Yeah.
The postage stamp anecdote from Rotterdam. What was that illustrating?
Yeah, the leather chairs on the rooftop terrace. It was August, apparently quite humid, and people were literally sticking to the chairs. It perfectly illustrates thermal conductance, how the material handles heat and moisture from your body.
Right, so how do they compare, generally, leather versus fabric comfort-wise?
Well, leather often feels cool initially because it warms up slowly, but when it gets warm and humid, say over 27 Celsius or so, because it doesn't breathe well, it can get quite sticky, uncomfortable if you're sitting for a while.
I can imagine.
Fabric, on the other hand, breathes much better, especially the more open weaves. And things like wool blends are great because they actually help regulate moisture cooler when it's warm, warmer when it's cool.
So the best choice really depends on where you are and how the space is used.
Totally. For somewhere like Northern Europe, with its variable climate, Qi suggests leather might be better in places with good air conditioning, like, say, a premium office or a formal dining area where people aren't sitting for hours and hours.
Okay.
But for conservatories, breakfast nooks, places where people might sit longer, maybe over 90 minutes, fabric is likely going to feel more comfortable year-round.
Makes sense. Now, the practical side. Maintenance and hygiene. How different is the upkeep?
Leather's generally easier for day-to-day cleaning. Wipe it down with a damp cloth, maybe mild soap. It can usually handle diluted alcohol disinfectants too, under 70%, which is good. But avoid harsh stuff like bleach.
And long-term?
Needs conditioning maybe once a year to keep it supple, stop it drying out. Spot stains need quick attention with a proper leather cleaner.
Then fabric.
More varied. Daily care is usually vacuuming. Disinfectant use depends heavily on the fabric type, and finish always test first. Deep cleaning might mean professional steam cleaning. And stain removal follows specific cleaning codes, sometimes needing solvents.
So leather sounds like it has an edge in places needing constant, easy cleaning, healthcare, maybe busy cafes.
It often does, yeah, that wipe clean surface is a big plus. But
Okay.
Key mentioned this co-working space in Munich. They switched 180 fabric chairs to have removable, machine-washable covers.
Oh, clever.
Yeah, and it saved them something like 4,300 euros a year on professional cleaning costs. So, smart design can make fabric really practical too.
Interesting point. Okay, let's talk sustainability and compliance. This is huge now, especially thinking about EU buyers.
Absolutely critical. And it's not just about being green. It affects the bottom line. Choi says his German partners really focus on 3 things.
Yeah.
First, Ocotec Standard 100 certification, basically making sure there were no harmful chemicals or dyes.
Right.
Second, a BSCI audit report. That's about ethical labor practices in the supply chain.
Okay.
And third, and this is getting bigger, is accounting for the plastic packaging levy. Like in Germany, from Jan 2025, there's this 0.80 per kilo charge on non-recycled plastic packaging.
Wow, that could add up fast if you're not careful.
It really could. Qi said ASKT switched to using honeycomb paper instead of plastic wrap where possible. One Dutch buyer apparently saved nearly 19,000 dealers in potential taxes last year just from that switch.
That's significant. Proof that sustainability pays, literally.
Exactly. It's ethical, and it makes financial sense.
What about the materials themselves?
Yeah.
Leather's footprint versus fabric.
Well, traditional leather tanning uses a lot of water and some pretty harsh chemicals, plus there's the methane from cattle farming. There are better options now like chrome-free or vegetable tanning, but they tend to cost more, maybe 15% extra.
Okay.
Fabric, especially with recycled materials, often looks better on paper. Recycled PE yarn from plastic bottles. Qi mentioned some chairs use yarn from over 80 bottles each, and making that uses about a third less energy than virgin polyester, based on their supplier audits.
So options exist for both, but you need to ask the right questions and look for those sustainable choices.
Precisely. Demand those certifications,
Yeah.
ask about tanning processes, ask about recycled content.
Okay, let's switch gears a bit. Design flexibility and brand storytelling. How do leather and fabric play into the look and feel, the brand message?
Leather definitely brings a certain gravitas, right?
Oh, yeah.
Classic, sophisticated feel. The downside is maybe a more limited color palette, usually earthy tones.
True.
But you could do cool things with it. Embossing, detailed stitching, laser etching logos, subtle branding, but effective.
And fabric.
Fabric is like a color playground, as Qi put it. So much choice in color, pattern, texture. He told this story about matching a Dutch client's exact website, blue Pantone 286C, in a custom chevron weave for their chairs.
Nice.
Yeah, the marketing manager was apparently thrilled. It really ties the physical space to the brand identity. Plus, fabric allows for things like seasonal updates with slipcovers, great for retail.
That flexibility is a big plus. Okay, let's get down to the numbers. Total cost of ownership, TCO. Qi compared a leather side chair and a performance fabric one over 5 years. What goes into that calculation?
It covers the main things: initial purchase price, shipping costs, estimated annual cleaning and care, the likelihood and cost of needing reupholstery within those 5 years,
Okay.
potential plastic tax impact, and what the chair might be worth, its residual value at the end of 5 years.
And the verdict, what were the 5-year TCO figures?
Well, based on their modeling, the leather chair came out around 151 euros per chair over 5 years.
Okay.
And the performance fabric chair was in the range of 149 euro to 161 euro.
Wait, so they're basically the same. The total cost is really close.
Pretty much, yeah. It was surprising to me too. But, as Qi says, cost parity is actually quite common when you compare decent quality leather with good performance fabric over that kind of time frame.
So the choice really comes down to other things then.
Exactly. Branding, the climate, how you plan to clean and maintain them, those factors often become the tiebreakers, not just the long-term cost.
Which leads us nicely to the decision matrix. When should you lean towards leather, and when is fabric the smarter bet?
Qi laid out some pretty clear guidelines. Choose leather if you need that immediate premium feel like in a boardroom or upscale lounge.
Right.
If the space has reliable year-round air conditioning to manage temperature and humidity. If your guests are often in business, attire less likely to cause snagging. And if you have a maintenance team who can actually do the regular conditioning.
Okay, that makes sense. And fabric, when is that the go-to?
Fabric wins out if you're going for a warmer, more welcoming, maybe residential kind of vibe. Think co-living spaces, relaxed cafes, some healthcare settings. Also, if color and pattern are really key to your branding, if you need some sound absorption, thicker fabrics help with that. Or simply if the chairs need to be stackable, fabric compresses better.
Those are really practical distinctions. Now, you mentioned Qi gets common questions from European buyers, field FAQs. What kind of things do they ask?
One big one is VOC's volatile organic compounds and air quality. He explains that good quality aniline leather usually has very low emissions well within limits, but PU leather can off-gas, so you need to specify low VOC if you go that route.
Okay, important safety point. What else?
Defining contract-grade fabric. People want specific Martinelli numbers. He gives the benchmarks 50K for restaurants, 70K plus for hotels, but stresses checking the actual test method, EN ISO 112947, and getting certificate.
Right, verify the claims.
Yep. Then there's justifying the higher upfront cost of leather. His argument is often about lifespan. If leather lasts 12 years in a bar versus fabric lasting 6, even if it costs more initially, it might be, say, 18% cheaper per year per seat.
A good way to frame it.
And finally, questions from vegan brands. He suggests looking at water-based PU coatings on recycled polyester backings and making sure pigments are REACH compliant and nickel-free.
Excellent. Very specific advice there. And he even distilled this down into a checklist for sourcing chairs, a 6-point plan.
Yeah, super practical. Basically, things you should put in your request for quotation, your RFQ.
Okay, run us through it.
1. Define the environment temperature, UV, cleaning chemicals. 2. Set your durability spec martindale rubs or tear strength.
Love it.
3. Demand certificates, OECOTEX, BSCI, test reports. 4. Get the maintenance protocol, what conditioner, what washing code.
Crucial.
5. Check the packaging need, that zero plastic option for the 2025 levy. And 6. Look at the supplier's R&D. Can they get you samples quickly, like under 10 days?
That's a fantastic, actionable checklist. Anyone sourcing chairs should use that.
Definitely. Cuts through a lot of the noise and helps you focus on what matters.
So wrapping this all up, what's the main takeaway message you want people to remember?
I think Qi's final point is really powerful. A chair is, it's a key touch point. It's where your brand physically meets a person. Every time someone sits down, that's a micro moment. It can reinforce a good feeling, or it can be uncomfortable, annoying. Thinking through all these details, material, comfort, durability, helps make sure those moments are positive ones.
Well said. And if listeners want to go even deeper after this,
Qi actually invited people to reach out. ASKT has lab videos showing tests. They have big fabric sample libraries, info on their manufacturing. We'll put his email and WhatsApp in the show notes.
great.
He also mentioned an interview he did with Mobilmarkt, a German trade publication, which gives more industry perspective. We'll link that too.
Perfect. Well, here's hoping everyone finds sturdy chairs, gets short lead times, and ends up with very comfortable, happy customers or guests.
Hear, hear.
We'll also drop a link to ASKT's latest dining collections if you want some inspiration. Thanks so much for breaking all this down.
My pleasure. It's a fascinating area once you get into the details.